Fire them up. That's what we do at the Andrew Gosser Show. We fire them up right here on 103.9 WYAB, where we're streaming on Rumble. We're streaming on X. We're streaming on YouTube. No one cares about Facebook. And we're streaming at the mothership that is WYAB.com. So if you can't pick up the 50,000 watt blowtorch of a signal that is 103.9 WYAB, help us grow the station. Help us build the channel. Like, share, and subscribe. Tell a friend. Tell a neighbor. Tell a liberal that you can listen to us right here every day from 10 to noon on the Andrew Gosser Show. If you want to be part of the program today, the number is the same as it always is, 601-879-0002. Text line is open at 601-879-5060. And ladies and gentlemen, we are here to equip the saints. Who are the saints? You all are the saints. Faithful are the wounds of a friend, but profuse are the kisses of an enemy. Yep.
We have lots of phrases that involve two words, the second of which is day. Labor Day, Memorial Day, George Washington's birthday, Independence Day, birthday, and election day. And they're all particular days. So if we start with that, if I have nothing more to look at than the phrase election day, I think this is the day in which everything is going to take place, or almost everything. And then we have 3 points in time, 1844, 1872, 1914. And we can ask, what would people have thought on those days is meant by this phrase, election day? Which of those should we choose? Which of those dates should we choose?
Well, I think you could choose any of the three. I mean, honestly, I think the single best one, if you're just going to choose one, is 1872. And the reason I say that is because 1914 is the latest in time, but that's the one that Congress gave the least thought to.
Ladies and gentlemen, jurors of the court, it is a wild and crazy Monday. I had all sorts of stuff I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about Phoebe surviving a tree falling on top of her. I want to talk about the farm. I want to talk about all the craziness that's going on. But Amy Coney Barrett and Chief Justice Roberts said, Andrew, hold my beer, my gin and tonic, and my Mississippi Haymaker. We got news for you. There is no such thing as election day anymore, ladies and gentlemen. And I wish I could see this in a different view, a different light, but I really can't. I mean this with utmost sincerity. They've got something on Amy Coney Barrett. No, unknown texter, it's not nudes. But they've got something on Amy Coney Barrett. There is absolutely nowhere in America's tradition of having mail-in balloting, voting, and counting the votes after Election Day. And this exposes one of the biggest flaws of the current conservative movement in the United States of America within the Republican Party is you keep on depending on the Supreme Court to play blocker. And every once in a while, the Supreme Court comes out and says, you know what, we're not going to play blocker. Republicans, you go do your own work. Republicans, you go pass your own Save America Act. Don't depend on us to do your work for you. And you know what? We give the GOP a lot of crap. We hold them to task, and they deserve it, quite frankly. But when they do something right, I never hear people saying, you know what, I'm proud that the GOP did that. So, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm saying is Spencer Ritchie, Hinds County GOP chairman, who started this litigation along with Pete Perry, we may not always agree on everything, but when we agree, I always want to make sure that I put it out there publicly on the record. Spencer, I know how much you worked on this and how you busted your butt to make this happen. Pete, same with you. And to watch this from the inside, not from like direct insider, like in the backfill chamber, but close enough to where I knew more than most, or more than some. I knew how much work this was to get this in front of the Supreme Court, and how we thought this was a slam dunk. But it just goes to show you that on any given Sunday, any given Saturday, any given Friday, World Cup, things can change in an instant, in a complete instant. The state of California, or the states of California, Oregon, Washington, Minnesota, Illinois, and New York have just been given carte blanche to go steal all the elections that they ever want to steal. Votes come in election night. Democrats down 1,000 votes. Well, I guess we're going to send in 1,500 late mail-in votes. As long as they're postmarked. And who can't find a post office that can postmark it a certain day? You know, to say that I am shocked would be a misnomer. I expected us to lose certain cases, but this was one where, after reading the rationale, as someone who read the arguments, who listened to the arguments, not just the written but the oral, I genuinely thought this one was a slam dunk. But it's not. So what does this mean going forward? It means that Jason White, Delbert Hosemann, and Tate Reeves are now all going to have to get together, and in the next upcoming session of the Mississippi legislature, come out and get rid of this late mail-in balloting law. Because the Supreme Court did say that it's a states' right issue. And if there's anything that can be looked at positively out of this, it's that states' rights prevail here. Mississippi state mail-in balloting law will not be the law of the land. It will be the law of Mississippi, but it will not be the law of the land. And we can get into all the minutia. We can go into all the politics of what's going on here. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry at this point in 2026. If you're for mail-in balloting, you are for voter fraud, you are for electioneering, election fraud, you're for it. Not even debatable. If you're for election day, not election season, you're probably a conservative. I would venture to go out and say what a libertarian thinks, but you never know what the heck they're thinking. Depends on the strength of the weed they're smoking at the moment. It's a very simple issue, ladies and gentlemen, and in a court where we beg and pray for clarity, we certainly didn't get it today. Nope. What we got today was a wrecking ball to the election system in the United States of America. I mean, electoral college voting system could be next. And I know that there's a lot of people who out there who want to get rid of the electoral college vote. And if that happens, Mississippi, you can kiss your butt goodbye, because your vote doesn't matter worth a squat. It will never matter. You'll never have presidential candidates come to Mississippi. You'll never have national candidates come to Mississippi at all. Won't matter. You don't have enough votes to matter. And there's really, outside of the view that one could take that states' rights are more important than the federal rights, I guess you could try to take that argument. But what this really shows, what this really demonstrates, is that we need to take control of our local governments. And under no circumstances, with this absolutely heinous ruling by the Supreme Court, should we blame the Mississippi GOP on this. They, dare I say we, did everything right to try to get this to the point to where we didn't have to depend on the California legislators to outlaw late mail-in balloting. We thought we could use the 14th Amendment. You think about it, how disenfranchised the United States of America is over California, and how these 5 or 6 leftist states screw up the whole union. And the U.S. Supreme Court has basically said, no, we don't care about that. I was sitting there trying to frantically read some of the posts on X as this was all going down. And I wish I could say that there's been good logic here. Scott Pressler, who was just recently denied entry into the South Dakota GOP dinner that John Thune was speaking at, and we're going to talk about that. Oh, don't you worry. But Scott Pressler came out 44 minutes ago, and he had his thoughts on this. SCOTUS ruled 5-4 that Mississippi mail-in ballots can be received 5 days after Election Day, so as long as they postmarked by Election Day. You're watching the 2026 election being stolen in real time, while our Senate does absolutely nothing. You should be furious. And we should. We should be furious. Not at Mississippi or the GOP, but that the longstanding traditions of how our Supreme Court actually works, not what they teach us in elementary, grade school, middle school, high school, even college, that's all poisoned. You can't even get really good civics education anymore. You have to go do it yourself. You have to go read a book yourself. And don't read this stuff that's come out after, I'd say 1990 or later. That's all hot garbage. You've got to go back to what the founding fathers were thinking about this. The game is played, and it is a long game. And if you go in here for the quick hit, if you go in to try to take over a county or two inside a state, yeah, you can do that, but it burns out because you're not playing the long game. In an age where we all want instant gratification, microwave generation, where we can find the answers to whatever it is we're looking for within seconds by simply asking an AI chatbot, prompting it, carefully crafting the question the way you want it to give you the answer that you want to get. Yeah, AI does that. We are in some serious trouble as a republic. Not as a nation, but as a republic. You know, over the weekend, there were news reports talking about our democracy. Those people should be immediately disbarred from journalism. Now, they can have an opinion, but they're not journalists because we're not a democracy. We're a representative republic, if we can keep it. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We're going to take our first break. We will be right back. Oh, yeah. Welcome back to the Andrew Gosser Show on 1039 WYAB. And this segment is brought to us by our good friends at Devaney Rental and Equipment. Kubota Orange Days about to end up going out. June 30th is the last day to take advantage of 0% financing on important equipment for your farm or yard. And in the next segment, we'll talk about how important Devaney was to me on Friday. But if you're looking for a zero-turn mower, an excavator, a skid steer, no job is too big or too small at Devaney Equipment. They're located at DevaneyEquipment.com, DevaneyEquipment.com, Highway 51 near Gluckstadt, and also on Spring Ridge Road south of I-20. That's where I go to get all of my equipment. And I've been going to Devaney since I've lived in Mississippi, about 10 years now. We're grateful and thankful for them sponsoring the show. You know, socialism is completely on the rise. Communism is completely on the rise here in Mississippi. And Chatters, I see you talking about the World Cup and stuff. We'll get to that later, but I want to keep the segment rolling in a certain direction. The Zoran Mondamis of the world are absolutely killing it right now. These Seattle mayors are completely doing what they are designed to do. You are watching the destruction of America free market capitalism before your very eyes. And those of us who are conservatives, we see it and we're alarmed by it. We want to do something about it. But to those who are either casual listeners or hardcore communists, they're excited with it. They're absolutely excited with what's happening. You've got three devout socialists who primaried Democrats and are now on track to become congressmen and congresswomen inside the next Congress coming up in January. And we can't even get our act together about the Save America Act or redistricting. We've got to talk about Leader John Thune, Republican leader of the Senate, Republican, South Dakota. And they had their equivalent of a Lincoln Day dinner, to which Scott Pressler, open grassroots activist, arguably the best one we've got on the political right side of the spectrum. Scott Pressler and Charlie Kirk were our banners carriers. And we lost Charlie. And Scott is doing a heck of a job with what he can. He bought a ticket to go to the Lincoln Day dinner. They're not cheap. We had our Lincoln Day dinner. I just wasn't feeling up to going. It's difficult, but I paid for a young Republican to go, Zach Service. That was $100. You're not just throwing away money when you're going to these things. I mean, it's just not like a night at the movies. But they denied him entry into the Lincoln Day dinner because he was going to go talk about the Save America Act. And John Thune didn't want to hear it. And I'm sorry to use this word, but it is what it is, Republicans. They sent the goon out to stop him from coming in, the sergeant at arms. And good on Scott Pressler. If you haven't seen the video, it's on X. You need to watch this. This is exactly how you need to comport yourself when you're engaging in politics, especially with these crazies. You have to sit there and take the high road, and let them just be the silly rascals that they are. There is nothing else that needs to happen inside the United States Senate other than pass the Save America Act. And I do think, again, Andy, you never criticize President Trump. You never disagree. I disagree with him here. He should immediately call the Senate back into session. They're on a 3-week vacay right now. He should immediately call him in and say, hey, You want to take a break? You're coming back in to pass the Save America Act. That's exactly what needs to happen. And I haven't run the chat query yet to figure out how many senators over the weekend, besides Mike Lee and Senator John Kennedy from Louisiana, it talked about the Save America Act over the weekend, but how many other Republicans have? And no, it's not enough just to be a co-sponsor of the bill and dutifully vote for it when it comes up for a vote. Because let me tell you what's happening with the Democrats becoming the Democrat socialists. Those who are in the middle are finding the Republican Party a lot more palatable. But they don't want a bunch of BS con artists in there running the show either. And again, when Republicans do great, we call it out. When they do horribly, we call it out. What the Senate Republicans have done in this instance is absolutely horrible. You know that there were 4 Republicans who voted against the Save America Act? Murkowski, Tom Tillis, Turtle McConnell, and Susan Collins. And here's what I'm going to say about this. I don't agree with Susan Collins voting no, but I get her no vote. But Murkowski in a Republican plus 12 state, no excuse. Turtle McConnell, Kentucky, Republican plus 14 state, no excuse. Tom Tillis from North Carolina, no excuse. Fetterman was for it. And there are lots of Democrats who are now seeing their party being taken over by a bunch of communists. This isn't like, and to the sick Republicans out there who are trying to compare the Democratic Socialists to the Tea Party or MAGA movement, go stop yourselves. Stop yourselves right now. You don't see MAGA sitting there burning down monuments, tearing down monuments. You don't see the Tea Party starting fires and in a summer of love. You don't see them burning American flags. You don't see them out there engaging in worthless protests that are hurting communist or commerce, not and hurting communists for that matter. It's all right. We don't like communism here at the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. 2 totally different groups of animals here. And the thing is that even those who are independents and in the middle are talking about it. I've got this video clip of retired Democrat senator from West Virginia talking on Fox News for 1 minute and 7 seconds, and I'm going to have to use the dump button. You're going to miss about 7 seconds of it. But to hear this guy talk about how the sensible middle is moving to the right because the leftists are just getting out of control is noteworthy. By the way, Joe Manchin, in his vote to stop Chuck Schumer and the Democrats in his last year in office, along with that senator from Arizona, I can never remember her name. She was out there. She had some interesting views, but they voted against it, and it cost her career. And Joe Manchin just said, "I've had enough." But I want to play this, and I'm going to hit the dump button when he curses. But he's actually going to curse, and I can't say that I totally disagree with him.
Let me just tell you that 47% of the people identify themselves as independents. They have to take, and all of you on your shows talk about independence, because independence is where you win or lose elections.
But 62% of Democrats say they prefer socialism over capitalism.
If they do, then by God, there's not a Democratic Party left. That's crazy. That is crazy.
It's true.
That is absolutely insane.
It's not a Fox poll.
If you want to ask,
I'm going to stop it right there because I don't even want to take the chance of missing him. He's about to call the whole thing BS. But that is a Democrat senator, honorably retired from the U.S. Senate, saying that the Democrats have lost their way. And this gets into a bigger issue. Honestly, it comes down to us men. It comes down to us men taking back the headship of our households. And I'm not talking about any specific creed, race, or religion. I'm just talking about us as men. What we have going on in our country, we've allowed to happen. We've allowed to been cornered. We've been whipped by various things. I'll let you figure it out. We've allowed drag shows. We've allowed our kids to be brainwashed. Heck, I'm guilty of it. I could have been a better father to my sons and daughter. But America is waking up, and the World Cup, we'll talk about that in the next segment too, I think. But the World Cup has shown that America is great when we want to be, when you get outside of these liberal hellholes. The English are still going nuts. They still can't believe that air conditioning is legal. I got a story somewhere here in the stack of stuff where the Germans actually have classes that they're teaching their kids that air conditioning is bad for you. Can you believe that? It's absolutely insane. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back.
Someone asked me, well, that's another reason why I'm not registered as a Democrat. I can't
Right.
put up with that crazy shit. That's nuts. Let me just tell you that 47% of the people registered as a Democrat. I can't
Right.
put up with that crazy shit. That's nuts.
Oh, yeah. Back in the day when country music was celebrating America and how awesome we are. We are, not were, but we are. You know, people are bringing up in the chat what's happened in Venezuela with the earthquake. And that is a perfect example of socialism and communism, what happened in Venezuela. Listener, I'm not sure who you are, but you said it perfectly. You want to see how good socialism works? Go look at all the Venezuelans digging their loved ones, dead and alive, out of the rubble. Because socialism doesn't build anything; it just steals and corrupts and corrodes. There's no building. Go look at the Obama library. I want to finish this quote from Fox News. Senator Joe Manchin said, "I don't want to be any part of that stuff," and I've censored it. But I want to play the last part of this right here because I think it's important, and we'll move in and delve into this a little bit further.
And I've told him that. I said, when you believe that the government should take care of you and you don't want to get up at your, I was asked by Elizabeth Warren, what's happened to the West Virginia Democrats? Why we lose all the union? I said, you've lost the union workers. You lost the working people of America because they believe the Democratic Party in Washington spends more time, effort, and resources on able-bodied, capable people that don't work or won't work than those that still are working, trying to make a living.
Amen, Senator. That's a fact. You know, there's supposed to be a safety net there. What's going on, Dogfish? And I see everybody, chat is moving today. You know, we're sitting there. There's supposed to be a safety net there for those who give to this country. Something happens. But we've got an army of 20 and 30 and 40 somethings, able-bodied SSRI army who can't function. They can't hold down a job, but they can go to a protest rally. They can go sit there and talk about the fascism of America when they're the real fascists, the Zorhan Mondamis, the Abigail Spambergers, that crazy mayor from Seattle that is completely destroying Seattle right now. Seattle is in a complete mass exodus, not of the poor, not of the homosexuals, not of the transes, but as of the community builders, the wealth builders, those who can get the heck out of. I mean, people are there. I saw a business building sold at 30 cents on the dollar. They sold a $1.2 billion building for $350 million. They just took the loss and got the hell out of Dodge. They've got they don't want anything to do with Seattle. This woman never ran a business, never ran anything other than a campaign out of her parents' basement. And I don't even have a problem with kids living at home in their 40s. If their parents are immobile, need help, I find it much more, what's the right word, appealing, acceptable for kids taking care of their parents when their parents can't get around and do anything anymore. But you've got these leftists who've never achieved anything in life, complete failures to launch, can't get anything done in life. They truly are losers. And she's running one of the mega metropolises of the United States of America. Have you ever been to the fish market in Seattle? It's incredible, ladies and gentlemen. It is a true national treasure. And it's all gone to pot. They are taking emergency funds and running trans care centers. People are moving to Seattle who are trans because they feel like they're an endangered species in other places. And your hard taxpayer dollars are going to fund this hot garbage. You've got states like Washington, like California, passing millionaire and billionaire taxes, New York, and people are fleeing. And you're saying, Andrew, that's great, because not only are the people fleeing, but they're conservative. And for the most part, they are. But what you don't realize is that you're destroying our natural heritage, our national heritage, our history. You've got Zorhan Mondami in charge of the Statue of Liberty, for crying out loud. Wall Street never has more human wealth, Human wealth, not American wealth, human wealth been created then on Wall Street. And you've got a Muslim socialist who doesn't believe in Christ, who doesn't believe in Americana, who doesn't believe in our founding fathers, running the show. You've got Wall Street bankers trashing the New York Knicks parade, dumping out the garbage to steal a New York Knicks garbage can. And let's be honest, for all the fellas and ladies who sit there and follow the NBA, we all know the Knicks are trash. They couldn't hold a candle to that 96, 97 Chicago Bull. MJ, Scotty, Rodman, they would eat the Knicks alive. They wouldn't. They could have all the home court advantage, whatever. Bulls in 4, all games played at the Madison Square Garden. Bulls in 4, not even debatable. You know, everything that the left is touching is turning to crap. Another example, Adams in Chicago. Chicago had the Miracle Mile, and I just thank God that I got to see it in the 80s and 90s and 2000s. Go on down there the day after Thanksgiving on Black Friday with the snow and getting a hot chocolate, riding the Chicago and Northwestern. I know it's the Metro, but Chicago and Northwestern into Chicago from my hometown in Fox River Grove. The train ride was awesome. The smells, the food was incredible. The shopping was incredible. It was expensive, but man, it was great. And look at it now. Now they worry about teen gatherings, where what it really is violent gang uprising. Restaurants moving out. 312 Steakhouse moving out. My favorite beef stand gone. We've got a lot of that happening here in Jackson, and we are going to get to the shootings in Jackson. We'll get to it next hour. But you are seeing what the Democrats, now the Democrat socialists, are doing. You know, they don't even have a Democrat Party in Minnesota. It's the DSA. The DSA, I think, is what they call it up there. I'll have to ask Dr. Williamson here during the break. We haven't had her check in a while. She's been dealing with a bunch of craziness up there. Just think, we were so close to having Tampon Tim as our vice president. Brandon Johnson's haircut makes him look like a baby shark. He does. We've got so much great stuff going on in America, and we are letting a few bad apples ruin it all. And I know we started this hour talking about the Supreme Court and the GOP. I just want to, again, and I know this is going to make some of y'all a little bit squeamish, but you all need to thank the Mississippi GOP for taking this all the way up to the top. There should have been another Dobbs decision ruling, Mississippi leading the way. But it's not. So now we got to go somewhere else. And this is just the reason why we need all of you inside the GOP as GOP delegates, precinct delegates. Your GOP needs to hear from you today that's saying this Supreme Court sucks, but we've got your back on this. And then you can give them hell about the Save America Act. If you haven't called your state senator yet, Senator Roger Wicker or Cindy Hyde-Smith, about the Save America Act yet, you might want to. Last little bit of news before we go to the break. I asked Grok all tweets from U.S. senators on the Save America Act since 26 June 26, so 3 days. Senator Rick Scott, Republican of Florida, and Senator Mike Lee. That's it. Never mind, all of conservative X is saying get the Save America Act done, but do they talk about it? Nope, they're on their vacation. They're all doing their own thing. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back. Hey, we're on a break right now.
Okay, well, I have the White House phone number, and I have John Thun's number if your people would like to call.
Can I get you on the air here in about a minute? I would love for you to put
Oh,
that.
I'd rather not be on the air.
Oh shoot, I don't have a pen on me, and we're just changing out the air filter, ma'am. Can you call me back during the next break?
Okay, I will. Bye.
Please do. Oh, yep. Bye. Appreciate it. All right, let's get this air filter done. Oh, yeah. Welcome back to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. Moving and grooving. Last segment of the hour. Man, does time fly when we're having fun, you know? Time flies when you're having fun. And I've got this quote here from Mr. Rajewski, it looks like. Brother, I'm listening to you now. The Republic is having its greatest test. We need to double down on our faith and belief in our Lord Jesus Christ. I agree with you 1,000%. He's the source of our freedom in the constitutional republic. You go and read our founding fathers or anybody like that, you'll see that it is. I swore an oath to protect the freedom of the U.S. Constitution. What is happening now is pure ungodly communism. Dude, you're right. And I wish I could read all of this. We need to confront it. Shame on the GOP that is blind to the theft. God has no use for weak and cowardly men and so-called leaders to provide no opposition to it. You can sit there and lump in the GOP, but you got to call the ones who are standing up and fighting the good fight. You got to get behind them. Rick Scott of Florida, Mike Lee of Utah, Senator Kennedy. He had a little dip, but he's back on the reservation now. And they need to hear from you. And I had a caller during the break. She's going to call back and give me the number to Leader Thune in Washington, D.C. in the White House. Look, we're calling for political activism here. Caller, I see you calling, but it's too close to the end of the hour to be fair with you. I'll try to get to you next hour. But I need to apologize for Friday because I wasn't here. And as you know, we had that drought a couple years ago and a bunch of trees died. Well, I had a tree fall down on top of one of my dogs, Phoebe. And for me to actually have to go out there and rescue my dog, that was what I had to do. So we ran the replay of Brother Rick, and hopefully we get Brother Rick back in the studio. He's more of a libertarian bent, but he's a good dude. And I got more comments off that rerun than I do some of my shows, and I'm grateful for that. Phoebe is fine. She's a great Pyrenees, but her guard dog days are over. We got her out. She ran around the house 3 times, took a whiz, and ran straight into the house. She has never come into the house before. And she has decided that her guard dog days are over. She doesn't want nothing to do with the trees. She doesn't want nothing to do with the sheep or the chickens. And those are the kind of days that you have on the farm that you don't realize that what you're going to wake up to in the morning. And luckily, we've only really woken up to 1 or 2 bad days out of our whole farming existence, which I think most farmers would take as a win. I've never really had any bad days farming, but I have had bad moments. And I mean, Phoebe's only 4 years old. She's a great dog. She's a lover, not a fighter. But when we get back in the next hour, we're definitely going to have some fighting words. Yep. We got to talk about Jackson, Mississippi. and what the heck is happening in the Jackson community. People want to say, "Oh, it's a Democrat thing. It's a black thing." No, it's a human thing. We got to get rid of these labels and start saying, when is enough enough? When is it? I mean, Clay and I were talking about this morning. I think 48 or 49 murders this year alone. We're not even in July yet. The most dangerous city per capita in the United States of America. We've got a strongly worded letter from the mayor, and our DEI police chief is on the scene, ladies and gentlemen, so we're going to be good to go. You know that. And we're going to talk about it when we get back, because we need solutions at this point. We don't need name calling. We need to identify the root cause and point it out and start moving forward. Shout out to Davini Equipment for helping me in the rescue of my dog. The Kubota made it happen, tore up the winch, but we're all right. We'll be right back in about 7.5 minutes. Yeah, man, Phoebe is not a happy puppy dog. And she's my girl, too. That was like the puppy that I kept from our litter between Isaiah and Delilah. And she was just the best. She, she was just the best. I got to take this phone call. Okay.
Okay, thank you for taking my call.
Oh, yeah, no, I just,
The
we
White House number,
White House number is
202
202
456
456.
14.
Can you say the last four again?
It's 1414
202
414.
202 456 1414 for the White House. What's Thune's number, please?
202 224 2321.
Awesome. Awesome. I appreciate it, ma'am. I'm going to give you the credit for this.
Thank you. Thank you so much for all you do.
I'm trying. Thank you, ma'am, for listening. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
And we are back here at the Andrew Gosser Show on 1039 WYAB, where we are streaming on Rumble. We are streaming on YouTube. We are streaming on X. No one cares about Facebook, and we're streaming at the mothership that is WYAB.com, ladies and gentlemen. So if you can't pick up the 50,000 watt blowtorch that is 1039 WYAB, help us grow the channel. Help us grow the station. Like, share, and subscribe. Tell a friend, tell a neighbor, tell a liberal about the show. Get them plugged in. Get them hooked up. If you want to be part of the program today, 601-879-0002. Text line is open at 601-879-5060. And the mission here at the Andrew Gosser Show is standard. We are here to equip the saints. Who are the saints? Y'all are the saints. Faithful are the wounds of a friend. Profuse are the kisses of an enemy. And right now, it's really hard to see who the friends are and who the enemies are. It's been a crazy show so far. Lots of texting and interaction. People not wanting to get on the telephone. But I did have a caller call in and say, if you would like to call the White House, you can. And she gave me the White House's phone number. It's just 202-456-1414. That's the DC line. And just tell President Trump you're for the Save America Act. He'd appreciate that. If you'd like to call Leader Thune, I got his phone number in the DC office. Tell him to get off his behind and tell him to get that Save America Act through. 202-224-2321. I do have Senator Wicker's number and Senator Hyde-Smith's number, but I'll give those out a little bit later. Not that I don't want you to do it right now. It's just that give out so much so often, and it gets a little bit overwhelming if you're not ready to write that down. So in the beginning of the next segment, I'm going to give out Roger Wicker's number and Cindy Hyde-Smith's number, DC office. So you can give them a call and say, hey, how come you're so quiet on the DC or the Save America Act? And don't let them say that they're co-sponsors of the bill and that they vote for it every time. Tell them you want to see them on X. You want to see them on Fox. You want to see them on OAN. You want to see them on MSN, MS Now, and CNN. They're in a Republican plus 12 state, for crying out loud. There's no reason for that. You know, I did reach out to Spencer Ritchie this morning after the Supreme Court news fell and that we had lost the case in the Supreme Court. And Spencer did get back to me. He thanked me for, his support. And he said he's disappointed. I don't want to go word for word here, but I can give you the general comments on what he's saying. And we live in the greatest country in the history of the world. It's our duty to preserve it. And I'm grateful for Spencer. And we need people like him out there who are fighting the good fight. Spencer, if you're listening, we got to do lunch soon. We got to do something. Something that came up in another text is, how many of you would actually show up to a Save America rally on a Saturday? It's almost like we, the people, have to get out there and start doing our own thing. And I don't mind organizing and doing stuff like that. I'm not going to do it during a weekday because obviously from 10 to noon, I'm busy. And it takes a lot for me to get up and down the stairs. I'm just being truthful with y'all. But it's almost like we got to have these individual Save America rallies. You know, like how they did those no king and no queen protests? But I know that protesting isn't the conservative way. We just like to show up and vote and keep our heads down. And it's almost like it's a Gen X thing. I did see some Gen X videos over the weekend. Everybody wondering why Gen X is so quiet and whatnot. But we gotta talk about Jackson, because we had a triple homicide, 2 women in their 20s, and a toddler shot in its bed. So that's execution right there, as far as I'm concerned. And you know what? If I was in Afghanistan and did that, that would be a war crime. That would be a war crime, executing somebody in their bed like that. We don't do that kind of thing. And I want to read a little bit of what Mayor Horn said, but then we need to have a serious conversation about this, about Why? This is Mayor John Horn, and I'm not embellishing this. I'm reading it directly from Jackson Jambalaya. If you're not following Kingfish, not visiting, you're kind of doing yourself a little bit of a disservice. Our city is hurt. Jackson residents, our city is hurting. In recent days, we have seen troubling rise in gun-related violence, shootings, and senseless loss of life. No family should have to face the pain of losing a loved one to violence. Violence violence against the innocent is intolerable, and as your mayor, I will not accept this as the norm for our community. Mr. Mayor, I agree with your statement, but if we're truthful, violence in Jackson has been the norm for a long time now. We either been number one or number two as far as violent crime is committed per capita in all major cities across the United States of America. We are taking this seriously. We have been in coordination with Chief Brackney and our public safety team. We will deploy additional resources to address immediate concerns. The Jackson Police Department has achieved an 85% clearance rate in solving homicides, a testament to their dedication. But we know that this does not bring back the lives of lost or heal the pain families are carrying. Most of these crimes are not random, and that's why we must go beyond enforcement and place stronger focus on prevention, addressing the root causes of violence before it begins. Mayor Horn, you and I agree. We need to get the people of Jackson in their butts in churches on Sunday mornings, Wednesday evenings, Thursday afternoons, Friday nights. Because I'm telling you, the main reason Jackson is violent the way it is because we're not following God. We'll all claim it. Everybody's got, what church do you go to? You got your church lined up and ready to go. But are you walking the Christian walk, or are you just paying lip service? Because that's where this truthfully comes down to, ladies and gentlemen, is we are a high trust society, and right now there is no trust in Jackson. And I don't say that gleefully or cheerfully. You know, as you know, Mississippi is my adopted home state. I've been adopted. I've been told that multiple times by many, many people of all persuasions. But we have got a culture of death. And it's in a doom loop right now. It's stuck. Enforcement alone is not enough. Over the next few days, we will present a plan that brings together law enforcement, community leaders, violence prevention experts, mental health professionals, our faith community, and leaders from communities that are impacted the most by these crimes. I think he's supposed to say these crimes. It says crime in there. I don't know if that's Kingfish misspelling, bad cut and paste, not sure, or if that's the mayor's office. But it wasn't your talk show radio host, ladies and gentlemen. I am a professional broadcast specialist. We need to put the faith community first. We really do. We don't need social workers rolling in there, sitting there talking about whatever it is they talk about. That's been proven in multiple other municipalities and mega metropolises. Seattle, Chicago, New York, Boston, LA, San Francisco, Portland, Minneapolis. There's not enough social workers in America to do that. That's why faith is so beautiful, because it's your own walk. But I digress. This behavior is a bad stain on all the good that's going on in our communities. We will not accept violence as a way of life in Jackson. We are going to confront this head on and go to the work necessary to make our city safer. Well, one thing we could do is we could build Parchment 2.0, and we could use the small windows theory as practiced by Mayor Rudy Giuliani back in the 90s when New York was a complete cesspool, hellhole. And he started cracking down on all the small crimes. And wouldn't you know it, all the big crimes fell too. And we've got lots of roads that need trash litter picked up on. Bring back the chain gangs. We had them in Illinois. It was a great day to get out of the jail, get our roads cleaned up, have our community impacted. We do it in Rankin. We've got our trustees out there. Why can't we do that with this here in Jackson? But it gets better, ladies and gentlemen. It gets better. Because we have some audio here of our police chief, and I have not listened to it, full disclosure, because I wanted to react to it. And Kingfish, I'm trusting you. I'm trusting that there's, well, the DEI police chief wouldn't curse, would she? Should I take the broadcast risk? Let's take this phone call real quick before I take that broadcast risk. Go ahead. You're on the air.
Yeah, I thought I read something where Sheriff Jones, they were bringing back the inmates that don't start cleaning up Hines County. And I saw something in the paper a couple of days ago. So
I did not
so
see.
they have, yeah. Actually, Sheriff Jones, they actually gave them their first truck.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll start to see that happen.
I think that's awesome, John. I think that's awesome. And I appreciate you phoning in and letting us know that. That's the kind of stuff that we need to make sure people know, because I know that they did it in Rankin County. I didn't know we were doing it in Hines, but that's awesome. What else you got, brother? Well, I think we lost John, which is a tragedy, because I know John and I don't agree on everything, but we do agree on some stuff. And where we agree, we talk about it. Let's take a broadcast risk, ladies and gentlemen. This is our police chief, Dr. Rochelle Brackney, Chief, Jackson Police Department.
What's going on here tonight?
So at about 10:10 today in the 300 block of Queen Alexandria, we received a call from 911 for an aggravated assault. When our officers arrived, they met with the complainant, and what they found and said was something horrifying. We have a triple homicide here, 2 young women in their 20s and a toddler, all who have been suffered from multiple gunshot wounds here. We are currently putting out a bolo asking for anyone who can help us. We're missing a red Mitsubishi. As a matter of fact, that plate it's a 2020 Mitsubishi Mirage. That plate is H as in Harry, S as in Sam, I as in Ida, 205. That vehicle was last seen at Beggar Evers Drive and Sunset.
Quick note here. I've been told that they have since located the vehicle, but not the person driving it.
Currently, we believe that suspect obviously is armed and dangerous and is related to this triple homicide that we currently have here. We have not been able to notify the next of kin in this place at this time. We do have one person that we are currently interviewing to try and get additional details as to what happened here this evening.
And that's coming from Brother Kingfish. Great reporting, Brother Kingfish, as usual. And, that's pretty standard. And nothing really news breaking there. I'm glad that she got out in front of the camera. People are saying, it costs money to have them out there working. It does, but you have to rehabilitate them somehow. And I think that having a Parchment 2.0 where we have these people locked up, and the ones that we can rehabilitate. The ones we can't. My degree is in criminology, pre-law. I thought I was going to be an attorney before I started flying. But we need to start putting these people who are taking away from our society and helping us build a better society. I'm not saying that it's going to be an instantaneous fix, but I'm telling you that if we don't start at the source of this with God, we're going to lose our country. And it's not going to be the Save America Act. It's not going to be some Supreme Court decision. When we lose our faith, that's when countries go to complete hell, especially those that are founded on Christianity. And I'm not trying to be preachy here. I'm not trying to sit there and put you in a Sunday sermon. I'm just telling you the truth. And we've got all sorts of things to distract us. Let's not get distracted on this. We need to start focusing on Jackson and our own backyards. You are tuned into the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. Be right back. And we are back here at the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. 601-879-0002 is the number if you want to call. Lots of texts coming in. Hard to get to them all. But as promised, I said if you wanted to call Roger Wicker or Cindy Hyde-Smith, honorable senators from this great state of Mississippi, I'd give you their phone numbers. So in 5 potato, 4 potato, 3 potato, that's enough potatoes. Senator Wicker's number is 202-224-6253. Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith's number is 202-224-5054. If you're going to call our senators, again, don't be a jerk on the phone. Be respectful, courteous, be pointed, brief if possible. But make sure, too, you're not allowing them to say, oh, well, we co-sponsored it. You want to see them on television. You want to see them being the leaders that they are. Senator Roger Wicker is head of the Senate Armed Services Committee. Very powerful. He could get this done in an instant. Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith is up for re-election. She should win unless something incredibly horrible happens and she does something that she's not supposed to do. But there's no risk to her supporting the Save America Act. Again, those numbers for Senator Wicker, 202-224-6253, ladies and gentlemen. Or is that my mouse cursor over there? 53, ladies and gentlemen. And then Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith is 202-224-5054. These are the main lines in their DC offices. And you can, of course, go to wicker.senate.gov or hidesmith.senate.gov to go ahead and get those numbers too. And you should. Everybody should do the things that they need to do to have a civic impact on your state. I mean, us not having the Save America Act is ridiculous. Mississippi's continuing to make news, though, ladies and gentlemen. Continuing to make news. This came across my ground news feed. Mississippi law directs state police to compile undocumented immigrant list. On Wednesday, Mississippi's Department of Public Safety will begin compiling a list of immigrants. Wait. You said that wrong, AI. I see what you did there. Actually, this probably isn't even AI because it's not adding illegal immigrants living in the state. Collecting names, addresses, country of origin, and criminal history over 2 years. And shout out to State Senator Angela Hill, the bill's sponsor in the Senate. See, we do get stuff done. She's a great person. Met her a couple times. Argued states must understand the magnitude of the problem and assist federal efforts contributing to the national trend of more than 100 immigration-related laws enacted this year. Mississippi's doing its part. And there are things we want to get done at the state, like Sharia law, getting rid of that. But this is a good start, too. We attain this list and we get people out of here who aren't supposed to be here. And let's help the people who are here legally. Help Jackson. Help Oxford. Help Tupelo. We got so many places. Hattiesburg. I know I'm missing other places. I don't want to make anybody feel left out. And I found this great little website here, Tipa News. I think this is from Tipa County. But they have their own right up here. The law says that the department may use all reasonable lawful investigative means available to determine the number and identity of people residing in Mississippi without legal status, including names, addresses, country of origin, and whether they are adults or children. It also allows criminal histories. If only California did this. Imagine if we get all this compiled and then we can just bring in ICE and round them all up and get them out of the country. And don't be saying that, oh, someone's going to get rolled up, gaffled. No. We have a great idea of who's supposed to be here legally and who's not. We don't want to turn into a Minnesota. We don't want to be a California. We don't want to be a Washington or a New York or Illinois. We're Mississippi. We're better than that. Other provisions of Senate Bill 2114 require the Department of Public Safety and county detention agencies to seek cooperation agreements with the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement under Section 287 Gulf. Though the law does not explicitly require or bar sharing of the new database with federal immigration authorities, the bill says. So, in other words, most likely what's going to happen is everybody outside the county of Hinds is going to cooperate with this. Whether Hinds decides to cooperate with this is to be determined. I don't know. I wonder if David Archie would support it if he was on the county board. Makes you kind of wonder. All the election interference, it all ties together. You see how it all ties together? You can't even make this up. Just proves that devil is real, ladies and gentlemen. I'll put this on X, this story on X, because I feel it's important that we use all the news agencies around the state. And it just goes to show you that people say that Mississippi is out of touch. We're not doing stuff here in Mississippi. We are. Mississippi leads the way in a lot of stuff. We led the way to the Supreme Court about this mail-in voting. People are freaking out over the mail-in ballots. All my conservative news feeds, they're all under duress. Guys, this should motivate you to want to do more. This should motivate you to want to say, hey, the things that we can control in Mississippi, let's control to the max extent possible, and make the other side fight us instead of us fighting them. It took a lot of resources to bring this Supreme Court case to the Supreme Court, this voter mail-in balloting initiative. It took money. The party fronted a lot of that bill. And people can say, oh, I don't have time for it. But we have to get it to where we have time to be civically engaged. We have to, because if we don't, we're just going to continue to whittle away. And we'll all sit there from the sidelines and yip and yap. I'm a good yapper. God's blessed me with a gift of yapping. But it's not enough for me to just sit here behind the microphone 5 days a week and yap about it. We've got to have fruit. You will be known by your fruit. Is your fruit ripe and delicious and sweet? Or is your fruit rotten, fetid, and sour? Does somebody want to come by and be part of your team? Or take one look at you and say, nope, I wouldn't follow that into war. I'd like to think that people would follow me. And again, people are asking for the phone numbers again, real quick. Let's get them out. Senator Roger Wicker, 202-224-6253. Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith, 202-224-5054. That's 5054. 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern time, so that's 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. our time. You can write them letters too. Letters are actually, when I was serving in D.C. and influencing stuff, a real handwritten letter, that counted for 10 votes. That always counted like 10 phone calls. It takes time to write a letter. It takes time to go and do that stuff. Not everybody will take the time. Few of you said you'd have a Save America rally. I'm not sure we got enough to actually start planning one yet, but maybe you can start talking about it in the chat and with your friends and neighbors. Is that something that you'd want to do? I'd help organize it. I certainly would. I don't want to be hateful and call people dirty names and stuff like that. But we can say what a disaster John Thune's been leading the Senate on this issue. I think it's fair to give him criticism. I think it's fair to say that we wish that our senators would say more about the Save America Act. It's going to become a time where the local party suffers when our federal and national elected political electees don't do what we send them there to do. it hurts us locally. And that's where the left really digs in. You are tuned into the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back. Yeah, let that roll out a little longer. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. Let me tell you why I feel that the war has to be fought in Jackson. And I'm going to use this post from I can't read the name the monitor is a little small and I'm a little bit farther away from the monitor, but I can read your message to me. I've lived in Jackson for years, Bellhaven Heights neighborhood. We tried to turn our neighborhood around. We failed. The city failed us. I don't doubt you there. Prior mayor was an absolute unmitigated diabolical disaster. We had so much potential and the city squandered it all and did nothing. But let the city crumble in and upon itself. If we let Jackson fall, if we don't fight the war there, guess where it spreads to? It spreads all over Mississippi. Where do we run? Some people can say that the Puritans in the 1600s and 1700s fled England due to religious persecution and founded America. And in the course of human events, human history, no country has risen farther and grown greater than the United States of America. And right now we're benefiting from that. Where does America run to? Where does Mississippi run to? Where does Jackson run to? There's nowhere left to run. We have to stand and fight. Not gunshots and fistfights and all that. Politically, culturally, we have to fight. Because, and I'm talking to men here and women too, but, you know, older ladies from my church that I talked to, men were men back in the days. Now I'm getting ads for men doing skincare treatments and Botox treatments in their 20s. What the hell is wrong with those dudes? It's been busy. In my 20s, I was running around the flight deck of an aircraft carrier, launching F-14s off the bow of the USS America, doing manly things. Hunting, fishing. Men don't do that anymore. They'll get a gym membership. They'll be gym strong. But let's be truthful. How many of us have seen gym strong men get completely knocked the hell out in a fight by a dude that was smaller than them, not as strong as them, but knew how to fight? That's how I look at men today. And I'm not talking about rolling up on some 50 or 60-year-old dude and housing him. Although we do see that. You've seen that knockout game? I thought that was gone. It still happened. But that's why we need to stand and fight for Jackson. I believe it's a spiritual battle at its core. Where do you learn right from wrong? Where does right and wrong stem from? If not from God. Indecent exposure laws don't apply if you are cycling around naked in front of kids. You know that's in Portland and in Seattle. I'm not going to play the video. I'm not even going to heart it, but I am going to repost it on X. Grown men, full nudity, riding bicycles in the gay pride parade in Seattle. Who? These aren't Republicans doing this. They aren't conservatives doing this. If they are Christian, they need to go be rebaptized and repent. There's only one side that's doing this. It truly is a mental illness. It's a real problem. And we can sit here and we can trade 50 shades of gray on what's right with the left or what's wrong with the right. But if we all can't come together as a community and say that the LGBTQ plus LMNOP agenda has completely destroyed American civilization and culture, well, then we're in trouble. But I can tell you that this show, which caters primarily to those in the middle, I'm not worried about those on the far right or the far left. Those in the middle don't want their kids being exposed to this garbage. Well, it's not here in Mississippi, Andrew. Oh, yes, it is. I'll have Gabrielle Olivier come in here. Every month they do a drag show here, right here in Jackson. And don't think for a minute, if they thought they could get away with having a drag show and ride around naked on bicycles in Jackson? They would. Again, where does their morality stem from? Because wherever it stems from, I don't want to be from there. These people are on your school boards, ladies and gentlemen. They're the aldermen of your cities. They're on your library boards, your water districts. They're infiltrated into your university system. I'm telling you right now, there are people at UMC and Ole Miss who would support this if they knew they could get away with it. And most of us, shout out to the blue collar crew out there, busting butt, building Mississippi on cold days and warm. You just don't have time to sit there and do this. I get it, but we've got to figure out some way, somehow, to get more civically involved, both nationally and locally, and show our kids how important it is. I was talking to my mother the other day, and she asked me, what got you so politically motivated? And I can remember it. It was the day she voted for Ronald Reagan the first time in 1980. And she took me to the fire station where I later ran for office 40 some years later. You instill patterns, ingrains. It ingrains into your brain and into your memories. Much like taking your kid to school or to church. They might fall away from it for a while, but they'll get back to it when they realize that nothing else works. You can have all the money, all the luxury, lavish lifestyle, but there's still this big empty hole that's inside of you that you're trying to fill with everything. Drugs, alcohol, fornication. You'll try to fill it with everything that you can, but you still feel empty and hollow. And that's kind of how I feel the United States is right now. And there's a group of people, it's funny. I almost feel like it. I feel like the Lorax. Did you ever read that Dr. Seuss book, The Lorax, where he's warning everybody about the trees? And they just keep chopping them. And we just keep on chopping down all of our civil liberties and civility that we had growing up as kids. Men, I'm talking to you. I'm serious. How many would your wives follow you? You said, hey, tomorrow we're getting up. We haven't been to church in forever, but we're going. Make sure the kids are ready. And don't worry about your Sunday best. Just get there. I'm telling you what, Jackson would see an immediate increase in its ability to recover. Pastors know what to do. It's not because the pastors know what to do, but it's because it's the Holy Spirit telling them what to do. And people say, Andy, you kind of get preachy sometimes. I do. It's because I sit here and I look at what's happening in Seattle, in Toronto, and meanwhile in Dearborn, you've got a parade 6 miles. Well, not 6 miles long. That's not true. You've got a parade at least a mile long. American flags? Nope. Michigan flags? Nope. Hamas flag? Yep. Islamic parade? Yep. That's not what this country was founded upon. We're being invaded and we're not even fighting. We're like rolled over like Turtle McConnell. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back. Oh, yeah. The 2 hours have just flown by, ladies and gentlemen. Just flown by. It goes by so quick, especially when we've got great stuff to talk about. Um, the thing about this show is it's at the perfect time to where I can show prep and have 2 hours ready to go. And just a little bit before the show goes active, we'll get some breaking news and we'll be able to go ahead and just talk about it. I'm working on a tweet right now, past the Save America Act, and I've got Senators Roger Wicker and Cindy Hyde-Smith tagged in it. I've got to figure out Senator Thune's hashtag, and I'm going to tag him in it. And you're all welcome to go ahead and retweet that. Civics is always easy to do. Senator John Thune. You know what? I'm sitting here looking right now, and I can't find his official X account. Someone tag me with his X account if you wouldn't mind. I'd appreciate that. I'd appreciate that. That's diabolical. I don't know if I'm blocked on it or what, but I can't find it. And I would say that my X game is pretty strong. My Twitter game is strong. But that's out there for everybody. My grandmother and several aunts owned houses and were driven out by crime in Jackson. Yeah, I believe it. Jackson's rough. Our inner cities are rough. And if we look at it, it's been rough for a long time. And if we're really serious about fixing Jackson, fixing our inner cities across America, our mega metropolises, as I like to call them, then it's going to take a lot of work, and it's going to be a lot more than just showing up with donuts and dollars. It's going to have to be multi-pronged approach, spiritually, culturally, physically, mentally. We're going to have to completely redo education. And we haven't really talked about education today, but I was given another survey where teachers are now quitting six-figure salaries just because they don't want to deal with the monsters in their classrooms. Andrew, you shouldn't call kids monsters. Well, some of them are. I didn't get to talk to her today, and I wanted to, but Clay got me, and I were talking. Maybe we'll talk about it tomorrow. We took so much hot garbage, Clay and I did, for pointing out the dangerous demographic in the Black community, ages 6 to 14, gun violence. In St. Louis, they had a 10-year-old shoot and kill a 6-year-old, I believe it was. A 10-year-old. Where are they learning this from? Where's the culture leading these kids? We've got to do better. And I'm not saying ban the guns and get rid of guns. No. Bring back the humanity and the civility. And it's going to take a lot of work for all of us to get it back under control. And see, the United States, we have the resources for it. But we've got so much fraud, waste, and abuse. Over $1 trillion a year. I'm telling you, they're saying, Andy, you can't say that. It's not proven yet. Trust me. I guarantee you, by the time this all gets worked out in the wash, you're going to have over $1 trillion of our budget wasted every year in fraud to illegal immigrants. Why not send some of that back to our mega metropolises? Start with the small cities. Start with Jackson. Why not? I think we could do it, ladies and gentlemen. I do think we could do it. It's been an awesome show. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Chat has been lit. Let's do it again tomorrow. Until then, take care, everybody. Be blessed. Yes, and amen.